My name is Emma, and I am 39 years old. In my neighborhood, they call me the strong woman, not with respect, but with puzzlement, because to them, being tough means pretending everything's fine when it's falling apart. And I did exactly that. 2 years back, I ended things with my husband. A heartbreaking finish to something that had stopped breathing long before. I finally let go. But walking away didn't fix me. It just gave the emptiness more room to scream. I work as a head nurse in a tiny, aging medical center. The type where corridors smell like cleaning solution and the clock ticks slower than anywhere else. Every evening follows the same pattern. Monitor patient conditions, replace bandages, update medical files, then return to an empty flat that feels way too big for just me. I wasn't searching for romance. I wasn't even trying to feel anymore. Then Marcus showed up. A guy in his early 40s. Rushed in after a massive tree crushed his vehicle during a fierce rainstorm. Nothing life-threatening, but he was deeply shaken. When they rolled him into my unit, I noticed something. He looked like someone who'd been carrying invisible weight for far too long. But that's not what made my heart stir. Not yet. That first evening, he barely said a word. He just stared at the rain sliding down the glass, his gaze exhausted yet strangely peaceful. I adjusted his wrappings, and suddenly he murmured, "You've got the touch of someone who's been hurt, but mastered the art of hiding it." That caught me completely off guard. Nobody had ever seen straight into my soul like that. Still, being understood doesn't automatically make someone like me fall in love. The real turning point happened on night 3. A little boy, maybe 9 or 10, got brought in after a severe breathing episode. His mom and dad were losing it, yelling at one another while their son gasped and cried, fighting for air. I was doing everything I could to settle the child when his mother suddenly dropped, completely unconscious. Hitting the ground hard, everything exploded into disorder. I shouted for assistance, but before anyone could arrive, Marcus, with only one working arm and fresh surgical stitches, lowly climbed out of his hospital bed and limped straight into our mess, his medical gown slipping off his shoulder, his face drained of color from the effort, but his voice completely steady. He crouched down beside the terrified boy, ignoring his own agony, and whispered softly, "You're okay now. Focus on me. Let's breathe together, slow and easy." And somehow the boy listened. He became calm. He matched the breathing pattern of a complete stranger who still carried kindness, despite his own suffering. When the medical team finally burst in, Marcus quietly backed away, almost ashamed to be noticed for doing something good. That was the instant my guarded heart finally split open. Not because he stepped in to help plenty of people help, but because of how he did it, gently, humbly, without needing applause or praise. Later that same evening, I went to examine him again. His stitches had torn open. He grimaced slightly but said nothing. "You shouldn't have gotten out of bed," I told him firmly. He met my eyes with that weary, truthful gaze and asked, "Would you really have stood there and watched a kid struggle to breathe, just to protect a few stitches?" I froze. I had no answer. Then he added quietly, "You strike me as the kind of person who rescues everyone else, but never lets anyone rescue you." Nobody had ever described me so accurately, so painfully, perfectly true. It wasn't attraction. It wasn't chemistry. It was recognition. Two battered souls finally seeing each other without masks for the very first time. From that point forward, our late-night talks grew deeper. He didn't flirt. He didn't try to impress me. He simply existed in a way that made my loneliness feel less crushing, and that's exactly why I fell. Not because I was fragile, but because I finally encountered someone whose wounded heart spoke the exact same language as mine. On the morning of his release, he held his belongings in his one usable hand and said softly, "Emma, if the universe had been a little kinder to us, I think we would have crossed paths many years earlier." I couldn't respond. I physically couldn't. some truths way too much to speak aloud. He walked away slowly, pausing at the exit to give me one final glance. The kind of glance that feels like both a farewell and an unspoken confession. I stood frozen in that corridor, long after he vanished from sight, my hands shaking, my chest overflowing with affection that had nowhere to belong. I loved my patient, not wildly, not recklessly, but in that quiet, aching way that only seasoned, scarred hearts truly comprehend. Thank you for watching. If this story inspired you, please like the video and share it with someone who needs hope. Subscribe to English Reflections for more simple stories and daily motivation.